on this week. So we are excited to be here, ready to roll. And we got a good show, I think, tonight. That's going to be fun. A lot of good stuff to talk about, and hopefully people get involved as well.
Yeah, no, we've been trying to come up with some topics to get back on track, to give us a base, and then we kind of go from there and talk about our week, and kind of brag a little bit myself, but that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, why don't you tell us how your week ended up for those that are following, or maybe not following too closely, Bayport soccer?
Well, as I was trying to think of where we left off, because last Wednesday night we had made it to state. So
Yep.
the excitement started to build. The T-shirts, the Venmo accounts started to hit the old checkbook. Venmo this guy, Venmo that person. So I Venmoed a lot. And then Friday morning, 7:45, the buses showed up to grab the girls and take them to Milwaukee, and 2 fire trucks, 2 cop cars, and 2 fire chiefs showed up.
Nice.
It was phenomenal. Like, that's something I've never done. Like, I've been in a cop car, but never been like in a bus with a cop car. I mean, so it was a pretty big deal. And we got to Milwaukee and we ran into Muskego, and it was pretty evident from the get-go that Muskego is the top dog, and they went on to win it. I took a picture of the scoreboard at the end of the game. It said 4-0, and then it said shots on goal, 26 for Muskego and 1 for Bayport. They were good. That was probably one of the better teams I've seen play. But the girls, they had one going to Kentucky. They had a lot of top-level girls. Good big-time college. So it was fun. I actually told one of their parents, I said, that was fun. I said, it was fun to watch. They were a little shocked, but that's just kindness in me, but they passed the ball well. And one girl took a ball from like 35 yards off the top of her head, put it in the corner. I mean, it was like,
really?
You're not going to do anything. Yeah, you're not going to do anything with that.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you get beat and it's by somebody really good, you can just kind of sit back and say, "Hey, we got beat by somebody really good." So yeah, you guys had a great run. Honestly, getting all the way to state, you should be proud, should be happy, because that's an awesome season. And I don't mean this in any disrespect, but I don't think they were expected to go to state this year, right? So you guys, I didn't hear that at least. So
no, we were 3rd or 4th place in our conference. If they'd have bracketed our side 1 through 16, we'd probably been a 7th seed, 8th seed. So, winning, we beat Manitowoc or Wisconsin Rapids 3-0, and then to get Kimberly winning penalty kicks, to get De Pere into penalty kicks, and then all of a sudden Eau Claire Memorial was kind of like all of a sudden we were real confident. But then you get down with those Milwaukee teams. I mean, it was Kettle Moraine, Muskego, and DHSA, Divine Savior, Holy Angels. That was the real deal. They in that conference. I don't even know if I think Muskego tied or took 2nd in their conference. So
wow,
there's a lot of soccer down there to be played, and so it was fun, man. When you first join as a freshman, you're kind of the you're not really involved much. Nobody knows you, right? So,
right.
And then you gain a little steam, and then come to like Kimberly playoff, the peer play. All of a sudden, the parents are starting to click and have a lot of fun. We were meeting before the game. We were going out after. We celebrated sectional victory. So I think next year I'm really looking forward to high school ball. To get back together with our group. I think we got a great group of core parents coming back, and so that'll be fun. I think the expectation will be high. We have a really good junior class, and so that'll be, I thought next year we'd have had our chance if we had one. But I told Macy early on, I said, I just one time in your career at high school, I wish you'd make state. So now I got to say it twice. So.
Well, she's got some time, so that's good.
Right.
Hopefully they can keep competing.
Yeah, but it's different. There's an announcer down there, and then I wanted to make Saturday just because then you come home with a ball, right? You get a fire truck ride back into town, which is the more exciting ride. I'm told. I didn't, but
right.
They had Bayport's got summer school where all the little kids now they're all at Bayport, so they all poured out onto the sidewalk, and the girls did a big high five line to all the little kids, and it was pretty cool.
That's cool. That's awesome.
I got a shirt.
No, it's oh, hey. Well, there's always a shirt. Did you buy a sweatshirt?
No, we forgot.
What?
We talked about it, and then we went to just say congrats to Macy, and then all of a sudden we were out in the car, and totally forgot. Otherwise, we would have. We buy them everywhere
Ouch.
else. Why not? Yeah, we'll get another one.
There you go.
I can always order it online, right?
Yeah, I think so. So you said there was some other stuff. Was there anything else that would happen that I didn't know about, or
No,
was that?
no, you don't.
Oh,
But
okay.
we ended Friday of high school season. We took Saturday off, and then Sunday we started club soccer, and tonight was our last practice. And then tomorrow night send off party, and then Thursday, we all hit the road for St. Louis at some point.
St. Louis. That's right.
Yeah,
Here
are
we
you leaving
come.
Friday?
Yeah, I'll be leaving early Friday morning, so I'll be down there too. I got my tripod right there. We're ready
I
to
got my
roll.
backup.
So yeah, we're gonna be live watching the games. It's gonna be a lot of fun. First one is 2 o'clock on Friday, so tune in to the Facebook page. We'll be live and ready to roll.
Yeah. So let me pull up the stats, just so we talk a lot about club sports and what people don't understand, right? You play a local tournament, you play like up here, you might play Oshkosh, right? And they have a good team, and then you beat Oshkosh or you don't beat Oshkosh. People like when we go to these regional tournaments, I don't think people understand the level of play that
Hmm.
we run into. So Paul, friend of ours, so our first game is against the Michigan Tigers. Now in 2022, they were a national championship qualifier, so they made the final. They made the final tournament out of all the '08 teams in the country. They went 4-1-2 in the National Pro League, which is the best of the best. They 2022 Midwest Regional Championship pool champion, so they won their pool at regionals. 2022 Fall Midwest Cup second place. Then they were the Michigan State Cup champs, so they were the best '08 team in Michigan. So that's our game one.
Right.
Game two, we played Topeka, Kansas. Now they won their Kansas State Cup championship this past year. We've actually played them twice. We played them in Rantoul. Were you down in Rantoul, Illinois?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So we beat them
I
on the
thought that
Friday.
sounded familiar.
Yeah. So we beat them Friday, and then they came around to play us again in the championship game, and we beat them then. So that is a feather in our cap. And then Sunday we get Galaxy. And Galaxy was the 2022 national champion at the '08. So that's, I don't know, 1,500 teams in the country, and they're the best team in the country. So we have played them. They beat us 2-0 last year.
Yep.
It was 1-0 for most of the game. I thought we played them tough. So they also won their Illinois State Cup. They got a big team.
They had two
And they finished
breakaway goals.
Yeah, they took advantage of two just kind of slower passes, and she was gone. It was impressive. But
Yeah.
so that's our 3 games. So we get Illinois, Kansas, and Michigan. And if we come out of that, then we take Monday off, and then we play Tuesday in the semis and Wednesday in the finals.
Dude, that's crazy. The whole. Are you planning on the like? What do we do if we? I mean, I hope we win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, but
Right.
like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was funny
I'm gonna be
last
sleeping
year.
in the van.
Right. Right. Last year we we won our first game, and then the hype kind of started to build, like, what if, oh my God, I better call my employer, and then we lost game 2 and 3, and we tied game 3, so we were kind of out of it at that. We'll know Friday afternoon by 4:00 Friday, 4:30 Friday. We'll know, because if we lose to Michigan, it's gonna be a long road to hoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
but the journey is part of it. I think that's the fun. I think it's kind of fun. We had a really good ending with our high school team, but our club team is really close. And I think we have a great parent group. I'm excited to get down there and sit in the lobby and have a couple beers and see how everybody's been, and that's the fun of it. Me and you get to do the games again.
Get the band back together.
Get the band right. So tune in to the broadcast. I mean, you like this. You want a good hour and a half of us knowing nothing about the game. Just trying to figure it out. We become friends with the AR. They love us.
Right.
The ref
Yep,
loves
that's
us. Right. So that's the exciting part of what we're about to do.
Yes. Why do we need to bring our laptop? What's going on? What's happening with the laptop? That's a Joe Sure lawn chair.
I think there was some conversation at a practice about maybe going live later on in the evening one night.
Oh boy, yeah, that'd be something.
Oh, we're gonna need yours because you set this up. I'm just a guest all the time. I have no idea how to do any of this.
That's true.
We'll
I can bring mine. Yeah, that'd be good.
Does the FCC oversee podcasts? I mean, I don't think
so. All we have to do if you want to do explicit content, you just have to slap the old explicit label on there. That's all we have to do. So.
Picture my face. Is that an explicit content?
Nice. No. No. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So what have you been up to? I mean, you've been big weekend with the Blue Barn.
Yeah, we did have a really busy dude. I'll tell you what, I don't think I've ever been so sore in this arm because I started to realize like I probably should start mixing it up here a little bit. It was so I didn't see the exact tally but I want to say it was over 500 orders this weekend. So and that they're not all singles, right? You might have somebody that had 3 cones and 4 cones, and so I mean we handed out. I think I estimated it was somewhere in the area of around 1,500, cones or scoops or whatever. So it was, and that was basically me. I mean, a couple people helped, but it was basically me. So that's a lot of scooping, and it was fun, man. But I'll tell you what, the first day, or it was a Friday, and that was the time we were open. It was nonstop. The second day we started at 10 o'clock, and we didn't end basically until 10. And it was nonstop, no breaks for 12 hours. I mean, there was a point.
You're supposed to use a break every 3 hours.
There was a point where I was kind of like, okay, you people can go home. I need a break.
Right.
But it was good, honestly. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of cool people. A lot of. It's what we signed up for. That's what I kept reminding myself. This is what I signed up for. So let's have fun with it, which we did. So it was a good time. I learned a few things very quickly. One of them being that next year, if I do this, and actually moving forward, we might adjust our price to include tax because that screws everything up. It slows it down on the transaction. You have to use pennies a ton. I ended up buying, going into the weekend, I think I had like $5 in pennies, which is 10 rolls of pennies. And we blew through them in like 6 hours. I mean, because we were using so many all the tax and everything, it ends up giving you these weird little numbers. So I think next year, what I'm going to do is change the price just to include. So you people listening that want to start a business, just include the tax in it right away. And then it's just simple. And that was a big mistake that I made. I screwed that one up. So.
You know what? The people leave tip. The problem is, did you put a tip jar out?
We did.
Yes, you better. Crying out loud. They pay for new tires.
How do you think I paid the kids?
Right. Well, that's where all your pennies are. You could have just went in and
Yeah. So anyways, it worked out pretty good. But yeah, it was a good time. It was fun. It was a learning experience, but it was a fun one. So.
Well, excellent. That's glad the business is going well because we're gonna, I don't know if you're bringing any ice cream nachos to St. Louis. I don't need any.
I would love to, but I don't think I'm going to be bringing anything along.
You're not bringing the big blue truck?
No, that would cost like $1,000 to drive that thing down there.
You'd make about 600 profit, drive it home, lose $2,000.
With the price of gas, did you see gas? I'm so frustrated with gas right now. It literally jumps 25 cents a day, and then it'll slowly go down, and it jumps like 30 cents in a day. I'm like, what is going on? How is it that volatile? It's more volatile than like a penny stock. It's crazy.
So I'm a gas nerd, so I follow it on the market because I'm always like, all right, the futures, and you add your 60 cents of tax. By the way, 60 cents goes into everything from tax and for the time it trades. It should not be $3. I saw everything from 357 yesterday on the western part of the state to 336 at my exit. So
Yeah. But literally yesterday it was 333 and today it's 359. I'm like, what the hell? What's going
ramp
on?
it
It's
up for the
causing
weekend.
I guess. I don't know. This is
Yeah.
crazy. Anyways, we're not talking about gas here. So, um, let's see. Well, we got a couple of comments here from Mr. Adamski. He says we're on a mission from God.
We
I don't know.
are.
That seems a little high. Yeah, maybe you. I don't know.
I went to Catholic school my whole life. The good Lord bless me. Haven't figured out in what yet, but I know I'm blessed.
So, are we doing a live podcast with fans?
There might be. I'm just saying. Paul said he'd sponsor it. We haven't come up with a value yet, but I'll bring my velocity hat. How much do you think his business has gone up since we started wearing his hats on
At
our
least 20 or
broadcast?
30 cents.
Right. He might have lost a customer.
Possibly.
But I'm just trying to read comments.
I don't get
Which
that
one
one.
are same movie? Oh well.
And then,
Please explain.
I don't know, Paul. Sorry. Missed. It's probably right in front of me, but I missed it.
But
But anyways, yeah.
I was gonna say we got
Yeah,
a great
go ahead
topic
with
tonight. So we've been bouncing things off each other all week, trying to come up with it. The one I came up because I heard some dads talking about parent coaches, and through the gamut. Oh, Blues Brothers, that's it. Elroy,
Gotcha.
Leroy.
Yep.
But the parent coaches, right? Because we all start off with our kids being coached or coaching our kids at a youth level. And my question always is, at what point is it time for the parent coach to let go? And our soccer club, it's U13, so 12-year-olds. There's no more parent coaches per se. I mean, I think there's assistant coach maybe. I think one of the teams had an assistant coach or two, but it's kind of my topic because I think it goes into. I have a firm belief that I think there are some very good parent coaches, but I truly believe when you're young, if you start on a team with a parent coach that knows nothing about the sport, it sets you back. Could be an unpopular opinion. That's not it though. But right. But like Macy's first soccer coach was me. So it's evidence, right, that she was going to go places. But her real first soccer coach was John Boots from our area, and John's a great guy. He taught her a ton. And then we switched to Sean, to our coach now, and he has been fabulous too. So she's had a really good track record of great coaches that taught fundamentals. And it really has paid off for Macy. Now I have friends that their daughters or sons in other sports too. They start and the coach is just like, and either they lose interest because they think it's horrible, or they struggle to get off the ground.
Yeah, and I that's kind of been a similar experience for us, and I can think about all the different sports that have been played. Usually, I'm end up being the first one, so I'm similar to you in that regard, and in that usually because no one else wants to do it, right? And so then you're like, okay, well, I want them to have somebody, so it's like I'll step up and do it. So I've done, basketball, soccer, football, t-ball. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I've not been afraid to be a coach. And I agree with you. There's typically I think it's fine, especially when they're young, because if you're really anybody can do it when they're young, because really what you need to teach them is kind of how to come together, how to have fun, some basics about teamwork and playing together, and some basic skill things that most people probably can know, or you can at least check a YouTube video and get some basic things. But I'm with you in that when they get older, I really want to see that separation happen. There are some people that are able to do it, to your point, and they're able to do it well. But some of the things that I wanted to cover are just some of the bad situations I've seen and where it can really go haywire when you have parent coaches. Now, again, I've seen a good example is Jack Bennett here at UW Stevens Point. He coached his sons on the university basketball team, and they won a national title together. It's not that it can't work; it can happen. It's just that typically it doesn't, because you need a unique personality to make that happen and make it work.
Well, I think it only works when the kid is the exceptional, right? He's the guy he's the really good player. Because any other thing than that, there is drama, there is conspiracy theories, there is everything, right? Oh, his dad's coaching to get him playing time, or this or that.
Right.
And it's like, and so that's where it always is a problem. So, and I get it, like clubs, in our club, we struggle for coaches. We struggle
Yep.
to pay high-end coaches because there's only so much money to go around without raising fees constantly. But I think clubs, and I've thought this for a while, our soccer club, I think, is a little too big per se. We might have too many teams at each level. Our 08s had five teams.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point what are you doing with that fifth coach? You're not you have a high-end coach for your high-end teams, top two, and then you kind of go from there. So you need a parent coach because you can't afford to pay five coaches for
Right.
that many kids. So either you tell kids we're not having it, we cut kids, and we send them to rec or we send them somewhere else. But now you've cut off your feeder system, let's say, our kids that want to just play in our club, or you need parent coaches. So you hopefully can find a parent coach that at least played a sport that you're in.
Yeah, ideally. But
But
then you get
also the
people.
times of, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you get people like us that are coaching that have never done it, right? I mean,
Right.
yeah.
But I also think that the landscape of coaching has completely changed. Like, when I was driving today from Western Wisconsin, I was pulling over every time I was texting and not texting and driving. But I go back to when I was in youth baseball, I was in Little League, and my coach was our catcher's dad. He was fantastic. But we'd go to practice and he'd throw batting practice with a cigarette in his hand. And he would throw balls, and not one parent said, you shouldn't be out there smoking. And nowadays, if you don't play a kid or you don't do X, Y, and Z at any level, you have an email, you have a meeting with the director, you have all this stuff. Where back then, my parents didn't go to every game. I rode my bike, and nowadays we do everything, right? But I think, again, parents really put a damper on a lot of stuff.
Well, and as part of that, I think this kind of segues into why you and I may have some reservations about parent coaches, because in that change, you also started to see people get involved in coaching for the wrong reasons. It didn't used to be like, I'm guessing the guy that was smoking the cigarette, throwing BP to you guys, probably wasn't, doing it because he wanted to be able to make sure that his son got playing time, right? His son was probably pretty decent, and he just was going to be the starter anyway, or a contributor anyway, whatever. But it seems like today you'll get people that do coach for that reason. They want to kind of control their kids' playing time, or they want to control something about the way the team makeup is so that it highlights their player or their child. And I think that's where it becomes problematic, because I have seen coaches not do that, but I've seen coaches do that as well. I mean, there's been a couple examples, even with our kids, where I saw that happen, and it was just like the whole team revolved around their child, and that's just, I don't know, it's just really unfortunate, because that has definitely been a shift, in my opinion, recently, where maybe it happened before, but it just seems like maybe I notice it more now, but it just seems like it happens more recently. And I don't know if that's kind of that whole tie-in of, because people want to be, that's why they want to be involved, so that they can kind of control their kids' playing time, or maybe not the playing time, but they feel like they can control their outcome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think it's a huge deal. And I think if you're a parent and you sit on the sidelines and you are always trying to figure out the coach or you think he's doing a terrible job, the only thing I can say is pick up a whistle and help out, you know.
Right.
But I think you're right. The reasons have changed over time. People like I want my kid to play second base or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm
Right.
coaching my
Right.
kid second base. Doesn't matter. But, you know, and a lot of parents sit by and they're like, well, what's going on? Why is his kid playing second base? But the only alternative is to sign up. And I've done it. You've
Right.
done it, you know.
Yeah.
I loved it. But I didn't love it because of my knowledge. Like if I'm coaching, it's baseball. But I've coached my friends' kids all the way through. I had two sons. I've coached them in the minors and the majors. I think 8 through 10, and then 10 through 12. And my best years coaching baseball were for his son's team because I didn't have skin in the game. I would stand on first base coach, and I had a coach ask me which kid is mine. I said I don't have one, and he's like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Because I love coaching baseball," and it was so nice. I did the lineup. I set the parent meeting because there was not 1 ounce of anybody going, "Well, you're here because your kid." But I also couldn't do it anymore because my kids are in sports, and it's hard to miss my kids'
Right.
stuff for his kids. But we did win a championship, so that was a big deal. They didn't have enough medals to give me one, but I knew they wanted to.
That's awesome. See and that you bring up the whole skin in the game, and so that's obviously having coached where my kids have played, especially with. I'm trying to think if I did this with others, but yeah, no, I did it with all of them. When like even when I played coached football or coached, whenever my kid came up, I was always like, nah, I don't want to be involved in this. I just like I don't want to be involved in it because I don't. You're always cognizant of that perception, right? That because you're there, you're just there to try to control your kids. And this happened in the soccer season this year. There was a couple times coaches like, I'm thinking about moving Amelia here. I'm like, go for it. I'm like, I don't. You do what you got to do because I said
Right?
I don't. I'm not here for that. I'm here to try to help you with organization. I'm trying to help you. I'm like, if you think it's a good idea, you have my support, right? I'm not. I didn't want to be that person, but there's a real perception, and I even heard little rumblings like, well, that's why Jeremy was coaching this year. It's like, no, that's not why. It's because they needed somebody from the building, right? They needed somebody, and nobody else wanted to do it. So
Right.
I wanted to make sure they had somebody from the building because every one of our coaches was one of them lives in Wausau, two of them lived in Wausau, and one of them is like a 19-year-old that was just trying to get a little experience. So they needed somebody that was the elder statesman that didn't could help with organization or doing other things. So for me, I'm always aware of that tie-in and that perception that you're there for maybe the wrong reasons, I guess.
Yeah. And plus on the high school level, if you think about these, a lot of times they're teachers or, you guys brought in some people, but it's hard to, they like to keep it in the building, don't they? I mean, from a,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we
you
would
know,
much prefer to have it in the building.
so if you take a teacher and you add up all the hours that they're going to spend coaching from if they have winter practices through some touches through spring, and then you get to season. I mean, it's peanuts what you're paying them. So don't even bring the money aspect into it.
Right.
It's not like you're taking your check that you got from coaching football and going to buy a cottage in the Hamptons. I mean, let's be honest. You bought 3 gallons of ice cream that you're trying to make a couple of bucks on.
Yeah, and it's fun, right? I do enjoy it. I've always enjoyed being a coach, even for like you said, for the uh, youth sports. I mean, it's enjoyable. Like the kids have a good energy. It's been pretty rare that I was like, man, I do not enjoy this. There's a lot of redeeming things about it, but I was always leery of that perception. Always, just because you didn't ever want to be perceived as like that's why you're there is for your kid, only
Right.
your kid.
And it's the first thing you think about, if you're sitting on the sidelines and your 11-year-old's out there playing and he's in left field and you're like, that kid's a first baseman. Like, what's his coach's kids doing? And there's a gazillion reasons why. I'm not saying all of it. Like, there are bad coaches out there. They're everywhere. It is strictly for their kid. But I do recommend grabbing whatever sport you're knowledge of and going to coaching and having fun, especially at that young
Yeah.
level.
See, and Joe sure brings up a good point. Like, he knows an assistant that this happens where just that they only want to be involved with their child. And that was one of the things that I wanted to highlight because I've seen this multiple times in my lifetime where the coach, you can tell that that's the only reason, and they're not even bashful about it. I mean, every drill they do, it's like, hey, my kid, come out and demonstrate it. And if the game's on the line, it's their kid that gets the ball. Everything cycles around them, their kid. And when you hear them coaching the team on the floor or on the field or wherever it is, like the only person they really talk to is their kid. And it's like, okay, come on, like what, what are you doing? Like you can't be like that. That's never going to be successful. And the kids and the parents see through it almost immediately, and they're like, "What is going on here?" Like you kind of know. And then if you try to do anything as a coach, let's say they didn't mean it to be that way, but then they try to institute something. Everybody looks at it skeptically, and they're like, "Nah, you're just doing that to benefit you. Like, how is this benefiting you and your kid?" Right? And so then there's this major trust issue where parents don't trust it. So back all the way to circle back to what you said, I love what the Wisconsin United does in that they don't allow it. They basically say at this certain level, just no more parent coaches. I think that's really smart because whether we whether they mean to or not, there's parents that get involved for the wrong. And I think it's good to kind of separate that out, give them a second coaching opinion or a second coaching style, I should say, where the kids get used to how somebody else does it. And when we talk about a psychological aspect, I was listening to somebody today, and they talked about this basically that when kids hear coaching, there's a study done on this, and when kids hear coaching from someone that's not their parents, it resonates with them more. I can't remember exactly the statistic they gave, but they basically said that they understand it and they follow it more if it comes from someone other than a parent, even if it's the same message, right? And so that's I don't know why is it that way, but I've seen that with my kids. I've told them like, hey, do this, and they never do it, and then they come home, they're like, hey, coach said I should do this, and it worked, and I'm like, oh shoot, I've been telling you to do that for 4 weeks, like what the heck? But it's the reality, right? They don't listen to us because they kind of sometimes they tone out the parent because that's what they've always heard, and they're like, dad, you don't know what you're talking about. But then somebody else says it, and they're like, oh, that's amazing, groundbreaking. So, anyways.
Yeah, if you go to a soccer game or a baseball game or any game, take a second and now we've gotten to a level where I think it's really none, but just listen to the parent sideline, and you will be amazed that there's 14 different parents yelling at 14 different kids, 14 different things, and it's unbelievable. As a coach, they got to be pulling their hair out. I mean, our team now, I usually yell when any of our girls get over the half line, whatever that's called. I yell to shoot because I think that's very important. Now, I think it's worked maybe 2-3 times a game, however many times we score. But I feel it's important to let them. And then I did. One of the parents said, "Hey, coach, can you yell at you?" And nobody wants to get yelled at by coach, not even myself. But you listen to these parents, and they're trying to tell their kid to constantly do something. It has nothing to do with what the coach is trying to do. That's why, our coach, we respect the heck out of him. He's been around I think I have his stats for all the state championship. I think he's won 8 state championships, 6 boys, 2 girls. He's got 2 teams right now in the National Pro League. I am not about to tell him anything about soccer at all.
Correct.
It's funny. I've had great relationships with Macy's last coach. I have a great relationship with coach now, and even the high school coach I talked to. And never once do I talk soccer. I don't know the game.
Right.
I know the rules, some, but at no point would I be like, coach, I think we need to run a 6-4-2-8-2. I don't even know the numbers. Like,
isn't that a song right? From the 80s?
But if I ask you right now what formation we play, We
I think
play a
it's a
goalie.
4-4-2, right?
But how?
I don't know. To your point, I don't know.
Right, exactly. And if like, what number is the outside back? I'm like, no idea. Probably a 4, maybe a 2. I don't know, because they're all messed up. So it's just not worth my time to even try that. And I'm not what I'm about. I'm interested in where we're going to dinner. Are we having beers? And what time's the game at? That's my job.
There you go.
And I drive. And I drive.
Right, of course.
Not while we're drinking beers. That.
See, now, Toby, this is why your kid plays, though. According to Joe, it's because you're nice to the coach. That's why your kid plays. So.
Yeah, but I'm nice to Joe, too. That's not getting me anywhere.
That's a good point. Touche.
Outside backs are not 2 and 3.
We've already
That
talked
is
about
so
the
wrong.
numbering. It drives me nuts. I don't get the numbering.
Yeah.
Just
It
go
goes
across.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then
No.
12 and 13 on the bench. That's how it rolls.
I play the 12 on the bench.
Right. That's my big joke whenever like somebody's like, what position do you play on the football team? I was like, left out.
Hey-o. Nice. Yeah, but man, I just, it's one of those, it's a hard thing to accomplish because I look at our club over here. We do not have a rule against parent coaches, but we also I don't believe we really have any paid coaches. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. They're paid, but they're a small stipend, right? They're not like, it's not their job to be whereas Shant is kind of his job is coaching and running the club. So he can be a professional, which is awesome. And I like that a lot more. But with a smaller club, you get a lot of parent coaches, and for better or for worse. And you know what? Oliver had one last year, I think it was, or 2 years ago. Guy was awesome. I mean, his kid was on the team, but you never even knew it really. And he knew soccer so well. He played at a high level. I think he might even played like semi-pro. A really good player, really good coach. And I was so disappointed I was playing up last year because he was 7 and he was playing on a U9 team, and that team moved on without him. And then it was kind of like, man, that was a great coach. Like you just wish that guy was still the coach. But so sometimes it works out really, really well, and then sometimes you get, not so well. We'll leave it
Yeah,
at that.
I'm gonna ask our listeners to stop sending numbers because Eric now says the right side is February 7th and the left side is March 11th. That means,
So confusing.
like, what about May? What about June?
What about January?
But that's okay. Let's talk about that. That's a great topic. So our club tries to decipher that, and I believe this, player age, but there's always kids that play up. We have one on our team that she's good enough to play up, right?
Yep.
But you get kids, and I'm sure parents call. I know they do. They say, hey, my kid's friends are on the U10 team, and my kid's a U9, and like they want to play with their friends. And it's like, when do you cross that line and be like, yeah, that ain't happening? Or can you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I do think that it depends on obviously the club, right? If you have a team of players that's fully capable and you don't have any openings, then yeah, you don't let anybody play up. The only reason we had them play up just we wanted them to start playing classic instead of rec, and they don't have anything other than a U9, so we basically just had to play up for that reason.
Right,
But
and I
yeah,
think
I know
at
what
the
you're
young ages, you play with your buddies and you have fun, and it is what
right.
it is. But you get to, we're now U16, we're 15-year-old. I'm getting old. But
I do think to your point though, if there is a team for you, I think you probably should play with that age group. Like if there's a team that has, their U11s, let's say, and you're should be on that team, you should be there instead of playing up on the U12. That to me that makes the most sense. Like I get why it doesn't happen sometimes, but to me that you should play with your age if there's a team for you.
Well, to me, so if you have a kid playing up and they're good, if you can start to form really good teams in a club on all age groups, that isn't that what you want? You want to build
Right.
the reputation of the club is producing state champs, regionals. Um, it's not the last comment.
Yeah. Joe says if they have the last name Castleberg, they can play anywhere. True.
So I get it, but then again, if a team is lacking and your kid is good, you have them play. I don't know. I don't think there's an easy answer there. I think we could go round and round with different parents on why people do things and why.
Well, I'll give you an argument why I think sometimes a kid should play up, and it's kind of sports specific. So hockey and football. If you are size wise and talent wise so good that you might be endangering a player at a lower level or at your same level, let's say you're like we've had this actually. We have a kid in our youth football league. He's just really big for a fourth grader. Like he looks like a sixth grader. He's just a big kid, strong, and it's actually kind of dangerous because he weighs more than all the fourth graders. So if you're out there knocking around, it's like there were actually other. We would play like Amherst, and they'd get all pissed, like this kid's too old, like an Almonte type situation. They're like, he's not really a fourth grader. He's gonna hurt somebody. It's like, okay, fine. Let's put him up with the big kids. Let's let him let loose and do whatever he wants to do because then it's a little bit safer. So from that perspective, I think it makes sense. Same could be said about hockey. Anything where you get really physical sports, I get why sometimes you might have to have a kid play up. Generally, is going to be pretty limited. It's not going to be you know, it's not going to be every situation. It's just going to be when it warrants itself, and there may be a player safety issue there.
Yeah, but it stinks for the kid, right? He wants to play with his buddies,
Yep.
and all of a sudden he's like, "Well, you got to go play with them." And so, but I get it. You're probably correct on. You're not probably. You are correct on that safety issue because I coached 7th and 8th grade youth football coming out of college, and we had some kids that could just, and that we were getting older, but my best years we had kids that could run kids over. I thought it was the coaching of why we were winning, but come to find out we were just better. I thought you froze there for a second.
Yeah. It did for a second. It was kind of weird. I did freeze, but I don't know why. Um, yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah. Amherst is fine. I'm not trying to dog on Amherst. That was an example, Joe. I'm not trying to start a war with Amherst.
Amherst is the new. Joe. Hey, Joe makes a great point. We're going to give Joe credit here. Soccer
Uh-oh.
did screw everything up when they went to birth year and not school year. So
That was Paul, by the way.
Oh, that was Paul. Screw you. Never mind. Sorry, Paul. I'm going to give Joe credit. I should have thought about that before I said it because that was completely wrong. But Paul is exactly right. They did screw up. You used to play with your classmates. You used to play
Yeah.
January to December 31st, I think was the.
I don't remember.
No, that's what it is now. It used to be like September 1st to August 31st, something like that. So you played with your kids in your class, and now you play with your age group. And we just went through it with our team, and every year the team goes through it. The 08s, so like 3/4 of our team went to high school, and then the young girls who were in 8th grade, they were young 08s, didn't really have anything to do. They had a team put together, but it was like a classic team on Saturdays or whatever. So our girls, being older, went on to play freshman ball and got the experience. And now we're back together. And now the 08s will go to sophomore and freshman, and then the next age group will go through this problem. And I think it's a really big problem. I don't like it at all. I think if you'd have stuck playing with so there's girls in Macy's grade that played on the 07s and then the 08s. So, you don't truly play as a, and I think in the smaller communities, Don't you want to just play with your grade? So when you hit freshman, you have a good core, and then your sophomores, and now it's kind of messed up. I think they did a disservice, and I don't know why they did it. And that's my take.
That's why Stevens Point struggles now. That's the reason.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna blame it on. No, I'm with you. I wish it was kind of that way as well, especially when you start running into. Um, I'm trying to think of like Amelia's young for her grade, but it would be nice if she was with her classmates, right? And so that I think that makes a lot of sense. I wish it was that way as well. It would solve some of the problems as well, where you get one kid's really young and one kid. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of just in the birth year that it always created weird situations. It seemed like, but I don't know. It'd be nice because they were always a grade behind.
Yes. Do any of your kids, are they in the year they should be? Like, my oldest daughter is 18. She's going to be a senior. She's a year back. So she should have been a senior this past year, but she was a junior because when she was 6, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and we kind of got her into school, and we had to take our time, getting acclimated. So we kind of she did 2 preschools or whatever. So she's old for her grade. And I was wondering if that's the way to go, because now my daughter's 18, driving, first to get her license. And my other daughter, Macy's May, so she's really young. She'll be last to get her license. I don't care about the sports aspect, but I think the maturity of it coming out of high school,
we should have held Amelia back. That's my because it was she's going to be 17 when she graduates. I just that's the one that I wish she was. I look back at it now, and I'm sure we did it just so we can get her out of daycare. But it's one of those things. It's like, I probably shouldn't have done that. I mean, and sometimes I think it would have made more sense if she'd had a little bit more. Not that she struggled or anything. I mean, she does fine in school, but I just think she's definitely young for her grade. Like, definitely young for her grade. So.
Yeah,
I get
if
what
you do
you're
it right
saying.
away, there's no difference. Like if you do it in their first grade, nothing changes. I find it hard to do it when they're in 7th grade, to be like, we're going to hold you back a year, and all your buddies are in 8th going, what happened?
We thought you were, we thought you were smart. Yeah, I don't know, and that's something I never had. I've heard of people doing it for sports reasons, like literally holding their kid back so that they end up older when they get to high school. That never crossed our minds. They held them back, but yeah. So, anyways, I don't
2
know. But
years.
yeah, our sons are like growing.
Right. Dad, why am I driving and nobody else isn't driving to 8th grade graduation?
But Joe points out that hockey did that too, and I think a lot of sports did that, where they started to roll it in based on their birth year. Football, we still do grade. What grade are you entering? And then you can actually join based on grade, so it has nothing to do with the age. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like going by the grade.
Doesn't hockey? And I think we asked Rookie when he was on. Don't you have to play in your community you're in? You can't. Can you? I don't know if you can transfer out. No, you can do that.
I think as far as I know, you can. Yeah. No, I think that's the way it used to be, and then they may do that in big cities or bigger cities, I should say. But places like here, you do whatever.
Go
I mean, because I know people that have gone up to Wausau or gone to, we had a kid from Marshfield come over to here. We've had people go up to Mosinee. So I mean, you can bounce around.
Anybody ever go to Amherst? No. Too easy.
Try to get me in trouble. I'm trying to get in the Amherst Fair, and you're no. Yes. So, anyways, I that is definitely it's a little bit unique to soccer and a little bit unique to hockey as well. I'm not sure how baseball does it. Do you know?
I want to say it's by age specific, but I don't know the age cutoff because we had we were coaching 8th grade, and all of a sudden this parent brought in a 7th grader. So it was really old 7th grader. I'm like, well, you're not that old at 7. Like, and the kid was tiny, and he cried and got a headache, so he didn't make it. But we tried.
Making kids cry. I like it.
Yeah. Amherst is the Kimberly of Central Wisconsin. You just can't say stuff like that, Paul. God,
Bill,
even
Bill,
if
Bill,
it's true, you can't say it.
Bill Helm is going to be like, what is going on?
Right?
Yeah, friend of the show.
Eric mentioned Jorgen Klinsmann messed up U.S. soccer.
Yeah, Jurgen Klinsmann. Yeah.
Was that the guy that coached the USA team?
Yeah.
Didn't he have a scandal with one of the players and the moms? I'm not a scandal, but didn't one of the moms complain to above him that their kid wasn't playing? Like, this is on the World Cup.
That's the most recent one. That's not
okay.
Jurgen Klinsmann was before that guy.
Okay.
Maybe two
but
before
still,
that guy.
Think about that. You make it all the way U.S. men's team, right? You're pretty much the best in the land, and then your mom calls and says, "My kid's not playing."
Dude, I don't know. I hear stories about stuff like that. Even like you'd think that it doesn't end. And this isn't my I'm not sharing my unpopular opinion yet, but I'm telling you one of the things parents today need to let their kids fail. And I got to bring this up because it just happens too much. And I hear stories about, like obviously we just did the ODP thing, and I hear stories about parents literally calling up Wisconsin soccer and complaining that their kid didn't make the ID camp, which if you don't know, the ID camp is like they kind of, the coaches that are coaching the ODP teams select some of the players that they think are the best in the teams to move on to the next, to this ID camp and be showcased. And then you have a chance to go to a national. But you hear about, and just having come out of this, you hear about literally parents calling up the coaches because their kid didn't make the ID camp and like railroading them over, they should be there. They should do this. And it's like, are we serious right now? This is a great opportunity. If your kid didn't make it, to talk to them about disappointment, to talk to them about, perseverance, to try to push through something where, maybe they failed and they didn't get what they wanted. And what do you need to do next time to maybe make sure you don't get missed? Instead, we're going to call up the coaches and berate them and try to get your kid to be on the team. Like, give me a break. You got to let these kids fail. You need to let them experience disappointment, and that can be a really great thing. That could be the point that spurs them on to be really great down the road. But no, we gotta try to protect their egos and make sure that they never feel any pain. It's like, get out of here. This is ridiculous. You've gotta let your kids fail. It's unbelievable. When I hear about stuff like that, it's just so tone deaf to knowing, in my opinion, what's good for your kids and what isn't, because it's not a great way to raise a good athlete. I don't care what sport you're playing, but I just heard that and I'm like, come on, what are we doing? Because literally that happened to Amelia. I mean, she got invited to ID camp the one year. The next year she didn't, and that was my conversation with her. It's like, guess what? This is a chance for you to learn from this and to grow. Obviously, you didn't catch the coach's eyes for whatever reason. You need to get better. You're not good enough. It's okay. She lived.
Yeah, well, right. And Macy made ID camp twice, and the last time when they sat everybody down on the hill, and you could tell who was going to Florida, right? Because after ID camp in Illinois, they picked 20 to go to Florida. Yeah. And you could tell right away who's practicing on that team. And the head of it said, and this was last year, so we were 14. She said, "You're at this age. If your parents have to tell you to go outside and kick a ball, if your parents have to tell you what time practice is at, if your parents need to tell you or bring you stuff that you forgot, this sport isn't for you. Sports aren't for you.
Yeah.
This is not your parents' dream anymore." And that was at 14. And I got in the car and we had the 4 ride home. I said, that's what I took out of today. And I said, I want that to resonate. I want you to dictate everything. You're old enough. If you have to go somewhere, I said, I will gladly drive. I will take care of things, but I'm not going to tell you to go in the backyard. Not my job.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Because
by the way, ODP is
No, I was just going to say, then it becomes about us, right, as parents,
Right. Right.
and that's not healthy either.
Yeah, my Olympic dream's way over. I mean, I made a run, solid run at it, but it didn't happen. I learned failure early.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I think
So
I think ODP is still one of the greatest marketing scams. Olympic development program, like I'm going to the Olympics. They're like, no, you're not, kid. Just relax. But Max
yeah,
actually chimed in. Do you see Max's question? At what
I
age group?
did see Max.
Right. Thanks for coming in, Max. At what age group do club teams start focusing on winning rather than having fun? And this, we've talked about this. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but when do you switch over from snack and all the fun stuff that I really enjoyed to it's time, right? It's time. And I think our team that when Macy joined, the team that our daughters are on now, um, from U13 to U14, it really got real. Because you joined at 14?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Macy played a little bit on 13. We were still playing on our local team. And that off season, that group of girls, now it was that group of girls, and then your daughter joined, became a real team. They got there, and this is what impressed me more about the team before we joined it. When Macy walked up, they put their cleats on and they got on the ball. They did not screw around. It was
Right.
time to practice, and this team has gotten better every year, and that showed from winning state championships to regionals to, going down to a tournament, winning every tournament that we entered for a while, we won, and this team got real. So I think there's you know, and that's also on a high level team. That's where Macy wanted. So I think there's girls at our age group that don't want that, and they have a blast, and that's fantastic. Um, so I think there's different age groups and different levels that come into play with winning. Everybody loves winning, but we really take it seriously. And now we're driving to St. Louis to see if we can win, a Midwest tournament. So I think it's all about the group of girls, and I think the problem lies if you get a group of girls and then you get some girls that join the team that are want to have fun. That's not our team. They're not going to last long. They're going to weed themselves out. I don't think anybody's going to say, "Hey, you can't be on a team." But I think our team is not one girl has ever brought a swimming suit to a tournament. They don't swim. Like they don't. They're like,
Right.
I don't know if they're afraid of getting hurt. I never asked. I just followed the rule.
Yeah.
I haven't swam either. Like I'm not afraid of getting hurt. Like doesn't mean much to anybody. But like our girls don't even go in the swimming pool, and it's they're in bed at night. Like our girls are not running around a hotel at 10:30 at night.
Right.
Like at first I'm like, go have fun, and now they're like, no, it's not how we do it. I'm like, okay, fantastic.
So my opinion on this, and I would agree with you there for the most part. I think for girls, it goes. I've noticed it at fifth to sixth grade. When it goes from 5 to 6, it starts to become more serious. I can see an argument for boys when they go from 4 to 5, fifth, and like fourth grade to fifth grade. But usually, I would say they would be the same, fifth to sixth. I think that fifth to sixth is kind of a good transition where it starts to become more serious. That doesn't mean that at fifth to sixth grade you throw everything out the window and it's only about winning. You just start to emphasize it a little bit more. You start to play your starters a little longer. You start to play to win rather than just to get playing time. And you start to incrementally, let's say you did 50-50 playing time with your fourth grade team or your fifth grade team, and on sixth grade maybe you do 60-40, and then you just start to ramp it up a little bit. It becomes more and more serious. But I think to me it starts having seen, I have my third kid now coming into this. Fifth to sixth is kind of that transition year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Paul makes a good point. If you're going to hit the road and you're going to travel to Des Moines, Iowa,
Yeah.
people expect to win. People expect to win, and it's a fine line because everybody expects to play. And I think in the state cup, everybody has to see the field. There are tournaments when people don't see the field, and
Yep.
that's a fine line too, right? I just drove 6 hours and my kid didn't touch the field. but you're there to win. And
Right.
it's where sometimes you have to look in the mirror and say, am I doing this for me or for my kid? So it's a fine line, but at this age, we're all in on winning, right? I mean, we're 7 hours to St. Louis, 3 nights in a hotel. You know,
Yep.
the chance, and I'll be as positive I can. The chances of us coming out of the weekend 3-0 would be phenomenal, but it's going to be the longest, hardest road we've ever been on as a soccer team. I say we, I mean us, because we're parents. We pay.
Dude, if we go 3-0, I don't know what I'm gonna do for. Like I said, I'm gonna be sleeping in the van. We're gonna be homeless vagabonds.
I wonder if we have to stay in the hotel, or can we VRBO that bad boy? We'll just get like 10 families to put in our house.
Yeah. Oh, Dan, I don't disagree with Dan at all. I'll tell you what, I did have a coach for Amelia, and I really appreciated this. We were in a tournament and we didn't do very well, and we got, I don't remember what it was, but we got a participation award. And I even said to him afterwards, I'm like, hey, where are those? Are you going to hand those out? He's like, no, I'm not handing those out. I threw them away already. I'm like, good for you. Because we were like dead last. It's not like we didn't do anything. And I was like, thank you. I'm so tired of like those things getting handed out. Because that's kind of what I was going to do with it. I was just going to take it and be like, but he did it for me. And I think that needs to happen more. And especially when at the age that they were at, that age was 7th or 8th grade. I think it was 8th grade. So it's like, okay, they need to know at this point. It's you don't just get something just for showing up. So I'm with you, Dan. I've never liked the participation ones. I hate my son sometimes will get these like, you finished 12th place. It's like, who cares? Like, seriously? Like, what we're giving ribbons for 12th place? Get over it.
Well, plus,
You didn't win.
right? And you're paying all these dues and fees to be on the team, and all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? Save me $5. Don't give out anything below second place.
I can understand third for like, especially when they're older. Like that makes sense. But
Well, they didn't give out anything at state. First 2, gold ball, silver ball. Second, and by the
it's
way, we
true.
took third place at state because they didn't play it,
Nice.
so I'm taking third. Nobody else took it, so Bayport third place champs. All right. Eric's got a good point. Eric said, I think what he's trying to say, there's a lot of tournaments out there, national championship series, state cups. I think those are your bigger tournaments where, it's more based on winning. And then the local tournaments, summer shootout, go have fun. But people don't, right? People go and want to win.
Right.
I mean, you don't go to a tournament, and so, but I think at some age groups you go have fun. We've never played in the summer shootout because we've always made regionals our 3 years with this team. And the problem is my parents don't travel. They're not going to St. Louis, so there's only a few games that they get to watch. So not that I want to make the shootout. Don't get me wrong, but we don't, like at our age group. We don't play at home. Our home games last year were in Milwaukee.
Right.
So
yeah, no, you're not wrong. But I like Joe's comment too. That's one that gets used in our household a lot, and that is second place is the first loser.
True story.
True story.
True story. Yeah.
So I like it. Good stuff.
Well,
all right.
You know what? If you want a trophy or a jacket, join cheerleading. They hand those things out like candy.
They don't hand them out. You buy them.
Right. You hand them checks, and then you go plays first place in the Kiel tournament, and they give you a national championship jacket. Amazing.
All right. So, anything else you want to add on the parent coaches or the youth tournaments here that we're talking about?
I think we could talk forever. I think it was a great topic. I think it kind of chimed some people up.
I know. Good.
Great, easy conversation. But I think it's kind of dragging out here. We don't want to. We don't want to get into 2 hours. We'd have to up up our fees to our people that advertise with us, and it's just not
right. So
But
then
we do need people
let's
to
move.
like our Facebook page and subscribe on YouTube. We need to
This
get
is
those
true.
up. We got a letter
So
in the
then,
mail.
right. So then now I have to. Then we're going to move on to one of our new segments, which we're going to try to incorporate, which is unpopular opinion. We need to get a graphic for this, I think, too, that slams up like unpopular opinion.
We do, and we need people that are out there. If they might need some time to think about it, but unpopular opinions are opinions that are yours, and you can't be. Now we got to keep them under control.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe. But last week it came out of the blue, and I really thought, and I'm like, I'm going to think long and hard. I got a lot of unpopular opinions.
So do I.
Right? It's not that hard.
Yeah. So do you want to go first or me? Go. You go.
I think you went
go
first last week. I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to say it. Chicago, Illinois is the worst city in the world. That's my unpopular opinion. I hate it. Hate it. And I said it the other day to somebody, and they thought I was crazy. And I'm like, have you ever been? They're like, we love it. I'm like, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It's hard to get around. Yeah. It's usually cold.
Oh, those two. Those two.
Yeah, right. And then there's the people.
Nothing good. And all my friends moved to Chicago all after college. Are like, we're going to Chicago. I'm like, nope, not me. No, thank you.
Okay. So I struggled with mine too, because there's a lot that I have. I'm weird, so I have a lot of unpopular opinions. I'm trying to think of which one I want to upset you with the most. But I think no, I'll save that one for another one. But this one will upset you as well. I truly believe this. Beer is extremely overrated.
What?
It is. It tastes terrible. I'm not a beer fan. I never have been. Have you ever noticed that when we're around, I never drink them or rarely drink them?
I know that about you because we went one night to a brewery and you had a
Amaretto sour.
Or whatever. Like, I mean, nobody cared, but I didn't make fun of amaretto sours. I just said you're not a drinker. I'm not into pure pressure.
I'm not saying that you can't drink it, but I'm not a fan. You know when I had my first beer? I was 33.
Don't say 33. He said 33, folks. Hey, by the way, your unpopular opinion's getting a lot better than mine. Joe is not happy.
I know. That's why I said it's not popular. It is not a popular opinion, but I am not a fan of beer. I really am. The only one that I've really liked was Blue Moon sometimes, but I'm just not a fan. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the taste. Yeah. So it's, like I said, unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, as I start to share my, especially when it comes to food and beverage, I will piss a lot of people off.
I'll be honest, because if I start talking about my movie, like what I like in movies and what I hate, it is bad. I think it's great, but there's a lot of bad movies out there that are very popular.
This is true. So anyways,
I think this is a great segment, and it'll be a lot of fun. But man, Peter, right down the rabbit hole.
I know.
Like,
I knew I'd get you on that one. But yeah, it's not a popular opinion. Yeah, I was a loser when it came to house parties too when I went in college because, like I said, I never tried until I was 33, and I always smelled it, and I'm like, I just had no desire to taste it at all. I couldn't do it.
my sister even jumped into there goes our beer advertising money. A friend of mine owns a beer distributor. Maybe forget it.
Hey, but wait, I could be like, even I like it. See, we can still do this. I will say anything for money.
Right. Oh Lord, that is fantastic, man. That came out of left field too. Like,
I'm sorry.
that's
I
okay.
get you all day.
That's okay. It's too late for me to go have a beer, but I would have had a beer. No, I
You should
wouldn't.
have, right? You should have just pulled one up right out. Well,
Who knows what's in the old body armor bottle?
all right. Well, if you have an unpopular opinion, don't be afraid to share it. We would love yours as well, because maybe we agree with you. Probably don't agree with me, but they might agree with Toby.
Right. No, but absolutely, and that's where the comments, bring them on all week. If you think of one, text us or shoot us over, because that's kind of the fun of the segment. Because it is, I do
Yeah,
really like it. Kudos
yeah,
to you
it's
for
gonna be
coming up
good.
with that one.
We're gonna have some.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Well,
Well, sounds couple days, Toby.
it's going to be 95 on Saturday. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Just
Shorts,
what do
no
they say?
shirt.
That's balmy. Yeah, we're gonna be
Balmy 95.
broadcasting with no shirts on. Ladies, settle down.
Right? Whoa. Married folks.
Not a piece
Not
of
for
meat.
long. Yeah. I don't think I've ever been called a piece of meat.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Yeah.
But
Find us at 2 o'clock on Friday.
2, noon, and 10. So 2 on Friday, noon on Saturday, and 10. Jump on, listen, and watch some soccer. It'll be fun. You can kind of see the girls we talk about a lot, and why we drive and pay more. P
Drive farther, pay more.
D
No,
Travel
travel
farther.
farther.
PM.
TFPM. Sorry.
Episode 4, I think. Go back and listen.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right. Well,
All
travel
right.
safe.
You
And
too,
we'll
man.
see you on the other side. All right. Thanks,
Looking
everybody.
forward to it. Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you, Tobes.
Bye.